2 days after a deliberately lit fire engulfed a Melbourne synagogue, more than 1,000 community members have gathered in a show of support. But anger over the attack has gone global, with the finger-pointing taking place on the world stage.
When a synagogue is attacked with congregants inside, it is domestic terrorism, and we must act accordingly.
Defiance in the face of hate. The message from the Jewish community today in Melbourne following the arson attack that ripped through the Adass Israel Synagogue on Friday, destroying irreplaceable artefacts of faith and endangering the lives of worshippers.
This is not the Australia I grew up in. It's not the Australia we all want for our future.
I guess the best way to sum up the community is definitely shock, upset, but at the same time a lot of strength.
One Palestinian community leader saying whoever set fire to that synagogue is a racist, is a fascist, is a Nazi.
We stand in solidarity with our Jewish brothers and sisters. An attack on a synagogue is an attack on us all.
Security at synagogues across Australia has increased in the wake of the firebombing, and state and federal counter-terrorism units are set to meet tomorrow as current and former Liberals called on the PM to label the attack terrorism.
We need concrete action. We can start by declaring the firebombing of the Adass Synagogue as a terrorist attack.
There is a technical process that is agreed in the protocols. If you want my personal view, the atrocities that occurred at the synagogue in Melbourne certainly fulfil that definition of terrorism.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has weighed in, tying the attack directly to Australian policy, singling out the rejection of a former Israeli minister's visa for a speaking tour, as well as a UN vote demanding Israel ends its, quote, unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory as rapidly as possible.
Unfortunately, it is impossible to separate this reprehensible act from the extreme anti-Israel position of the Labor government in Australia. Anti-Israel sentiment is anti-Semitism.
Well, that is a matter for Mr. Netanyahu, but 157 countries supported the resolution.
Somehow the Prime Minister, for his own political reasons, is justifying the grotesque stance that he's taking at the moment, and I think it's a disgrace.
The synagogue in Melbourne's southeast trying to pick up the pieces from the brutal attack, now also the centre of a political storm.
Josh Burns is a federal Labor MP and his seat includes the Adass Israel Synagogue. He's also Jewish. Josh, thanks for being with us. How much fear is there in Melbourne's Jewish community right now?
It's been a big 48 hours and people, I think, saw the scenes at the Adass Israel Synagogue and it sent the sort of ricochet of all of the worst historic memories of seeing these Orthodox Jewish people, you know, and their place of worship completely burnt down. I think it really sent shockwaves throughout our community, and yeah, people are really in shock and fearful, but we must push through, we must persevere and confront the sort of ugliness with confidence and clarity and strength.
In your mind, how clear is it, Josh, that anti-Semitism is and has been on the rise in Australia, at least over the last year?
Well, Hamish, unfortunately, the numbers prove that it has been. We saw it escalate in various points, and unfortunately, one of them was my office, where we saw people come and light my office underneath a residential building on fire. There has been warning signs, and we've been saying for months that actually it is on the rise. The numbers that have been released show that the number of anti-Semitic incidents in Australia has been dramatically increasing. And unfortunately, what happened at the Adass Israel Synagogue was a very, very dangerous escalation again. And 2 people were injured, but I hope that's it. But I fear that there will be something even worse coming next.
I'm sure everyone can understand how complex this must be for you as a Jewish man, someone that lives at the centre of these communities, but also serves in a government which is being accused of effectively abandoning the State of Israel, but also not being serious enough about tackling anti-Semitism at home. Are you comfortable with the position, the broad position that your government's taking?
Well, Hamish, clearly not enough has been done. It should never have gotten to this situation, but I'm not here to play politics. It's been a pretty distressing 48 hours, and I was really pleased that the Prime Minister made an announcement today around extra funding for security. The New South Wales Premier, I've been working with his office on exploring the ideas of protecting synagogues and places of worship from protests, and making sure that people can come in and out of places of worship freely. The Victorian government also, I've been in contact with them, and I think there should be a national approach on that. So
do you want permits for people to have protests? I know this has been mooted.
Look, I think the policy that I've been talking about with state governments thus far has been around ensuring that places of worship are not allowed to be used for protests. I'll let the state governments deal with the permit issue. The thing I'm more interested in is ensuring that if you want to go to your shul or your mosque or your church or wherever you want to go, you should be able to do so freely. And I think that's a part of multicultural Australia that we need to maintain.
Josh, I totally respect that you don't want to play politics, but I think we can all see this has become a significant political issue because the Prime Minister and the government that you're part of is being accused of letting down the Jewish community. And I certainly know from speaking to Jewish friends over the last year, there is this genuine fear and growing fear. So I just wonder if you could maybe offer us an observation that's a little clearer about what you think your government should be doing.
Well, Hamish, we need to act. We need to act on anti-Semitism. I think the security funding today was really important. I think there's been legislative reform that's happened, which has been really important around doxing. I think we need to get our anti-vilification laws right and make sure that they are strong. I'd like to see them in line with the state-based anti-vilification reforms that are being proposed around the country. I'm leading an inquiry into anti-Semitism at universities. I think online is a cesspool, and we need to ensure that those people who commit anti-Semitism are held to account.
Josh, the government decision to vote in favour of Israel withdrawing from Palestine is at odds with Australia's voting record over the past 20 years. So what has changed?
Well, Dave, I mean, there's a couple of things to say. That vote actually did go back in line with the Howard government's position, but I think there is a broader point here, and that while we can have mature discussions about the Middle East, there is no excuse for targeting a local Jewish community. There is actually no excuse. That is anti-Semitism, and the community that was targeted 48 hours ago are not affiliated with Israel. They are a local Jewish organisation, a peaceful community. And so I think it's really important to differentiate the fact that there is a government overseas, and obviously we can have mature discussions about it. I mean, I have a degree in this. I'm very interested in the Middle East, but what happened in Melbourne is anti-Semitism, and there needs to be a clear differentiation, and people need to understand that Jewish people in Australia are not allowed to be targets for this.
Well, Benjamin Netanyahu's actually saying that it's Labor's policies and Labor's extreme anti-Israel position that's basically fuelled this fire. Has it, do you think?
Look, Sarah, I mean, I'm not. What do you say to that? I think the Prime Minister can respond to the Israeli Prime Minister himself, and I'll let him talk to those comments. I'm interested in supporting my community, and I'm interested in supporting the Jewish people of Australia who are going through, unimaginable pain, and my focus is on them, and I'll leave the sort of geopolitics to the Prime Minister on this particular occasion.
Josh, we know this is obviously a difficult issue for you to be talking about, deeply personal as well. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thanks, team.